Welcome to the Black Order Book Club. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Black Order Book Club. It's me again here, your buddy Zach, aka Tales of a True Believer. I'm here with my boy Mike Guy there, the newest full-fledged member of the Black Order Book Club. Big shout outs to Mike. How you doing,
Thank
Mike?
you. I'm well, brother. Yourself?
I'm just living the dream, man. It's beautiful up here in Oregon today. So, how's it down there?
It's California, man. The weather is always awesome.
I know. I miss it. I miss living down there. Anyways, so we're back again. We're going to talk about the rest of the Daredevil run by Brian Michael Bendis. Get into our thoughts about each of the closing arcs here. Get our thoughts about the entire run. And then at the end, tease what next month's book club is going to be. So I'm really excited about it. Mike, are you excited?
I'm always excited.
Let's flip and go, brother. All right, so we're going to get started here. We're going to cover, kind of go over again a little bit the end of issue 50, Hardcore. Some crazy stuff goes down here in this issue. And during this arc, Matt Murdock basically, not basically, but pretty much takes over as the new kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. He kicks the living dog crap out of Wilson Fisk after Wilson Fisk returns from his recovery, if you will, overseas. And Matt Murdock lets everybody know everything goes through him now. And as we talked last time, pretty crazy stuff, kind of a big deal and one of the big moments in pretty much all of Daredevil. Any thoughts about that, Mike?
Yeah, actually, I really loved how it opened with the meeting with Wilson Fisk, Derp, Wilson. That should be a new one. With Fisk and all the former heads or current heads of the families who were running things when he was getting new eyes. Because again, he lost his eyesight. So he comes back and lets everybody know, I'm not happy with the way things were ran. We're no longer dealing with the mutant hormone drug. We're just done with that. And you will know how displeased I am by the amount of tribute that is owed. One of his underlings tries to jump bad and say, like, look, man, out of respect for you, I'm going to give you a day to get out of town, but you're done. You're not what you once were. You let a blind lawyer slap you around. Like, you just go. And Kingpin just grabs his phone and just says, Chinatown, do it. And I won't go into what gets done there, but he lets everybody else know in the room, I'm back. You do not want to test me. Otherwise, you're going to end up like this guy and step in line.
And everybody does step in line, but the moment is not very long, I guess we could say. It doesn't last super long because Matt shows up and kicks the living, nobody's watching yet, so kicks the living dog shit out of Wilson in front of everybody. And the culmination of everything that had kind of gone on up until this point has finally just broken Matt. The stuff going on before this, Bullseye showed up and tried to take out his blind girlfriend Mila at the time. And things have just snowballed up to this moment, and you can just see everything just build up to Matt taking everything out on Wilson. Because I thought, to be honest with you, that the thing with Bullseye was going to be the culmination of his just total mental break. And then he does this, and it's like, oh, dude, I thought this was going to be a good ending to this run. It looks like we're going to go down deep into the hole here with Matt. So I got me excited to read the rest of the run.
Sorry. I know I said I was going to wait for you to tag me in, but the fact that he drove into a building to get at Wilson, I mean, come on. Just the optics alone of Daredevil, the blind guy, driving a sedan into the side of a building and then jumping out through the windshield and just proceeding to eviscerate Wilson. I mean, he never even really had a chance. He just it's like if Spider-Man finally just let loose and went completely schizo. It was glorious watching him just throw him all over the bar and literally out of the window into the street in front of everybody and just towering over him like King Kong. Just literally, look, he's done. I'm taking him to prison after this. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. He's done. I'm running this shit now. You
Yep.
all listen to me. You know who I am. You see what I did with my bare hands. Do not doubt what I will do to you if you even try to guess me.
Dude, Matt has some great, just badass monologues in this run where it's like multiple pages of him just yelling at somebody. And it is the coolest. That's what I really love about Bendis's writing in this is he sometimes when characters and with certain writers, characters will go on long soliloquies and you're just kind of like, okay. But not with this. And it doesn't happen a ton. Like it builds toward it. And once it does happen, it is amazing. So I got to give Bendis credit there because it's stuff that you think about. Like I'd be randomly just at work and go, oh, dude, well, that was so great. And then looking it up on my phone just so I can read it again. But no, I love it. Great run, a great kind of end to this. At least that's how book one of my Omni ends. So it was a great end to that book for me. It made me really excited to go on to book two, which picks up, if we want to move on to the next one, with King of Hell's Kitchen, which picks up a year after that stuff went down with Wilson. So Matt's publicly claimed the title of Kingpin, and the story in this here is primarily told through the perspective of journalist Ben Orr. And Matt effectively shuts down everyday crime in Hell's Kitchen, forcing criminals to relocate to other parts of the city. This drastic shift draws, severe criticism from his superhero peers, including Spider-Man and Luke Cage, who both have some pretty poignant conversations with him about that, because they view Matt's, new role as pretty hypocritical. And so I thought those issues were those conversations with Luke and Pete were really, like, there was a lot that was really going on in those conversations, and I thought there was a lot of depth to those, and they were really, really good. How about you? What did you think?
Exactly. I mean, essentially, he just took his trash and threw it over his neighbor's fence. I mean, that's really all he does. And they're trying to explain to him, like, man, you're not fixing anything. You're not really helping anyone. You're just keeping your little territory, your little fiefdom safe and secure behind your walls. Sure. And everybody in, this 4-block, 5-block radius, they're kind of living the good life, but everybody else beyond that, they're caught up in the shit show and the fallout, because all your people are now running around going psycho over here, and they're going unchecked, and they know, like, for instance, so many cities around Gotham are safe because Gotham itself is the lightning rod, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a reverse lightning rod, and it disperses and it makes it to go to all the surrounding boroughs and like Queens, and it's not only is it not fair, but it's not right. I mean, you're not really even being a hero at this junction. You're almost borderline Negan-esque.
I agreed. And I think it's interesting you bring up the Batman parallel, because Batman definitely believes fear creates order, and it does in Batman stories and in that world. But in this, Matt tries to do the same thing, and it does the exact opposite. And it just keeps spilling out of order, and it keeps it's like you have too many holes in the boat, and you can't plug up all the holes, and it's just getting worse and worse.
As much as I love Batman, and I do, like, he's a slow learner. Like, he thinks fear creates order, but look at Gotham. Gotham is never in order.
Yeah.
Gotham
No,
is
it isn't.
always a shit show. I mean, if anything, like, uh, Batman is that challenge that other people want to test himself against, and that's why he kind of invites the level of crazy villains and plots to
Mhm.
Gotham, because they're like, shit, if I could take down Batman, I mean, I, that's top. Nothing can beat that. Nothing can compare to that. So, and
Yeah.
again, I don't know. I just don't think Batman gets the memo at all. Like, fear is
No.
clearly not working. Like, it might work for like your average low level criminal, sure, but how often does Batman truly stop an armed robbery at a liquor store? I mean, we don't really see that, but maybe in the opening page, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't see it.
Well, this made me think back to his conversation with Stiltman, and Stiltman telling him, "We all fear you." And I feel like he took that information and took it the wrong way, and it gave him confidence to go more down that road. And it's ending up biting him in the ass here as we continue to go on. But I just thought that always takes me back to that conversation that doesn't seem so important, but it ends up meaning a lot for as you go along because of the context of the conversation. So just found that interesting.
Not just in this, right? But again, later on when Shadowland happens, it's this, like,
Yes.
so much escalated beyond words and multiplied in chaos and control. And
Hmm.
as you said, everything, there is nothing that's a throwaway conversation in this run. Everything from issue one until the final issue of Brubaker's run, everything is tied together, and it might seem insignificant, or but later on something will happen and you'll be like, oh crap, that actually had relevance way back then. Oh, they've been dropping seeds along this whole thing. No
Yeah.
matter what writing or an artist team picked it up next, it's like they clearly had a conversation like, this is where we want this run to go. So do your thing on it, but this is the elements you definitely want to keep in the back of your mind as you're writing your run. And I feel like no other run of comics has had this, like, not even just in a different character or publisher, but no other character or run has had it to where different teams have picked it up, and it, you almost couldn't tell if you weren't like really paying attention.
Agreed. And it's so interesting you say that because when we get to the end here, Bendis talked a lot about his conversation. He had a couple conversations with Brubaker about how he wanted to hand it off and was really worried about where he was going to leave Matt, before handing it off to the next guy. Because, you don't want to leave the next guy in a pinch, for him to start his run, having to try and figure out how to reinvent the wheel a little bit because of how you ended it. And so, yeah, but anyways, we'll get to that. But something else that happens in here as well, that I have written down. I feel really confident here. I hope I didn't screw up my timeline here, but the relationship with Mila escalates, and marriage starts to becomes a thing, and you'd think like, oh, this is a wonderful thing, but really, with everything else going on, this is just coping. It's trying to, I don't know if not fill the void, but to put a band-aid over something that you shouldn't be putting a band-aid over, and you can just see that, oh, this is pretty lovely, but this is going to end up in a really, really, really bad situation. Bad situation, because Foggy throughout this whole little arc too is expressing more and more concern about how things are going, and doesn't think any of this stuff is a good idea, and Matt just does this stuff anyway. And the continuing and deepening the relationship with Mila is part of that. And as much as I liked it, and much as I wanted that to happen, like, oh, that's really nice, because I thought Mila is a really cool character. I knew that this was not going to end well, because how many comic book marriages actually end well, especially when they're married in the book? It
Right.
usually never ends well for those people. So, what did you think about the relationship, and what do you like about Mila that's different from the other Matt Murdock ladies in his life, if you will?
Well, first I'll start off with what I liked about Mila. She was her own character. She had her own life going that was outside of the normal like cape and spandex crowd, right? Like she just had a lot going for her as a character,
Yeah.
which could have been expanded upon and reused, but she was just done dirty from the jump. I mean, unfortunately, she was a really good girl. She's like that girl that you wish you couldn't, that you would have gotten with before the bad
Yeah.
one. right? Like, unfortunately, she got caught up being the rebound girl, and she should have been the girl after that. You know,
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
their relationship was tumultuous from day one. They were constantly dealing with one issue after another, not just as a couple, but with all the BS that goes with being with someone in the cape and spandex crowd.
Yeah.
So she accepted, Matt for who he was, because he did tell her, like, hey, I'm Daredevil. And that was kind of nice for him to be able to have that to confide in and not keep up that facade 24/7, but at the same time, he's still dealing with the fallout from Karen Page, which he's yet to really confront himself and deal with himself. Still, this entire run, he's just constantly in a state of reaction, has not had a chance to really grieve and process anything. And especially at this
Mhm.
particular time, so many things have happened that it's just unfathomable that he never took a moment to breathe. And obviously, why else would you rush in and marry somebody that you know in little over a year's time, with your life being in complete turmoil and chaos? That's like
Yeah.
being in a bad relationship thinking a baby's going to save it.
Save you. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. And I thought a lot about it, made me think a lot about the TV show too, especially this season, where he was a lot of really reactionary in the same way. And you saw how much that, caused more and more chaos of the situation. And every time he thought he was ahead, he wasn't. And I just thought they did a really great job kind of pulling those elements from this, because you could tell this run specifically, they pulled a lot of elements from this run. They do a lot. I mean, throughout all the seasons, they've pulled a lot from this, but I thought this season they did a really great job of showing that chaos and that, I don't want to say devolving, but really just going full head first into the chaos and losing yourself a little bit. And I think at the end, when he, admits to everybody who he is in the courtroom, it's him finding himself again. But oh, we lost his face. That's right. If you're still there, Mike, thumbs up. If not, oh, we lost him. That's okay. I'll take this time while he comes back to give a little bit of love to our Black Order. Oh, he's back.
Uh,
Cool.
uh, so you were saying?
Oh, you're good. I was just saying that I don't even remember. The show did a great job from pulling from this stuff. And this
I
is
think
such a great run that they pull a lot from it.
the reason why that it's easy to do for a show this run is because of how human element the stories are, the character development is. So
Yeah.
it's easier to do this run, I feel like, than like Miller run, right?
Yeah.
Because again, Miller run, it gets a little cape and spandexy. There's a lot of stories, a lot of team ups,
Yeah.
and this is just completely grounded.
Yeah. It's more of a noir crime, run than it is a superhero spandexy so and so robbed the bank run. Um, but we were just talking about Mila, and you and I were talking beforehand about one of the things, little arcs that we didn't particularly like in this thing, and that gets us to Widow. Great cover, maybe not the best arc, but the best thing that happens in that, and I had it in my book here. I got my volume 2 of the Omni here, because the Omni kind of opens up with this arc. But the conversation, you kind of find out that Mila wants a divorce from Matt because of all the stuff that's going on. And they have a beautiful conversation here in the rain, where he doesn't want to give her the papers, but he has a conversation with Foggy, and Foggy's like, you got to give her the papers, bro. You can't put her through this kind of stuff. If you really love this woman, then you're going to give her, you're going to get the divorce, because that's what she wants. Right. And that's basically kind of the conversation they have here, where he says, I don't want to do this. I love you. I want to be with you. I didn't get with you for any other reason other than I, love who you are. And she's not about, she's over it. She doesn't, like any person, I think, that would be in a situation like that. I don't want to, I would rather enjoy my life and live a life where I'm not worried that some crazy guy named Bullseye is going to come murder me in the middle of the night because he doesn't like you. And so Mad gives her the divorce papers, and it's a really sad moment. And it's a really the consequences and things are really starting to build up now. And all these reactionary decisions, like you just talked about, are now coming to a head. And so I really love that part, in an arc where Black Widow shows up and some Madam Hydra and all this kind of like wonky kind of superhero stuff. There's a really real moment in that, and it's right at the beginning. So, yeah. Anyways, your thoughts?
No, I feel like that's one of the best actual conversations of this whole 4-part run is Foggy just being like, look, man, this poor girl has been through so much because of you. And if you really loved her, you need to think about what it's doing to her, the toll that it's taking on her. As much as she loves you, man, she's constantly being put in danger through the people around you, as far as your enemies, through the press and the public constantly being everywhere you guys are. Sure, you kind of like quieted down some of the rumors that you're Daredevil, but it's the tabloids. So, everybody's gonna deal with that at some point. Some random guy popping up out of an alleyway with a camera in their face. I mean, yes, they're blind, but it's still damn annoying.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, let her go. Like, it's not about you. If you really love this woman, then you have to see you are not a benefit to her at this point in time. Let her go. And it was. And again, the human elements of this story, everybody can relate to both sides. We can relate to Mila wanting to get away from it. We understand wanting to hold on to something, the fear of letting go of love, regardless whether or not it's what should be done. It's difficult to do. So it really encapsulates that very well. Brings in Natasha, who's a long time interest in Matt, and
Who else
and
take advantage of him?
yeah, and the fact that she senses that, again, there's a particular moment where she's getting ready to come on to him, and he's like, no, not right now, my life's a mess. And she's like, when isn't it? So it must be a day that ends in Y. And he's thinking about things. He goes into another room and he finally signs the divorce papers.
First paper. Yep.
And then she senses the shift in him, almost like she had the Daredevil powers for a moment, and just totally like, okay, man, I'm going to stop coming on to you all hot and heavy with those bedroom eyes, and I'm just going to be here for you as a friend. And that was a nice touch.
It was, because going into it, I was thinking, oh, he's going from having to go through this divorce with someone that he, in my opinion, it seemed like he genuinely had feelings for, to then getting back into this vicious cycle with like an Elektra or a Black Widow or, any of these other femme fatale gals that he gets involved with. And just going from that back to just your routine, it just was really sad. But then it just flips it a little bit, and she instead, and I think that's what, to get corny and real nerdy here, that's, I think, what makes her a great Avenger, is she sees that and changes it and is there for him as a friend instead of continuing that cycle. And so it threw me off, and I was pleasantly surprised by that, because I thought, oh, this is just going to be him going deeper down. And instead we had a moment of like the people in his life actually being there for him when he needs them to be. And I thought a Black Widow of all people was just an interesting way to go about that, and an interesting way to tell that story. So even though it was not, the whole her being there after the international incident and things like that was a little bit wonky for me, but the core of it I thought was really good, and it had really good moments in it. So I was overall thumbs up for me.
The way that they brought her in for support was very clunky and ham-fisted, and when they started like making out, I was groaning. I'm like, come on, man. Like, how are you going to do this? Like, you're not even fully divorced. I mean, this is just, I mean, God, your Catholic guilt's really going to get you on this one, man. This is adultery. What are you doing? And, and the fact that instead of going into it, they leaned back. It was nice. It was nice. It wasn't what I was expecting. Like you, I was pleasantly surprised.
It make it, by the end of it too, you really kind of start to wonder too, like, what is Matt's like level of trust with everybody? Is he capable of being able to trust people fully anymore? And it was an interesting thought for me to have, especially after this, because it is Black Widow and she is, a spy. And so you're automatically second guessing everything she does and seeing if it's a
Right.
play every time. And then it's really interesting to see where Matt is at this point before we get to everything else on where he is with trusting people and where he is with all that. Cause going through a divorce, I don't know. I've never had a divorce, but at least the people I know who've been through a divorce, they have some trust issues afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's just interesting. Did you notice anything about that at all either, or is that just me being a nerdy nerd?
No, he's definitely becoming more and more isolated as the run goes along. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but by the time Shadowland happens, you can see why it plays out the way that it did initially. I mean, yeah, and I'll just leave it there. I don't want to go too deep into that because then, spoilers.
Yeah, people crap on Shadowland a lot in in the community, but I will say within context, there's some really good stuff in there too. But for another book club someday, way down the road, because that's probably very low on a lot of people's list of what they'd like us to do. So with that said, let's move on to Golden Age. Because Golden Age has a really interesting little arc. Released from prison after decades, Alexander Bont finds himself in modern Hell's Kitchen he no longer recognizes. Bent on vengeance against the masked man who ruined his criminal empire, Bont targets Matt Murdock and uses incriminating, irrefutable videotape proving Murdock is Daredevil to manipulate Matt and terrorize the kitchen. He also uses blackmail on an old villain of Matt's, Gladiator, and manipulates Gladiator into helping him get after Matt here. And things go a little crazy. Matt tries to have a little bit of stability, and that totally goes out the window once Bont's out of prison. Where do I have else here? Yeah, that's what I had. Never mind. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm passing it off to you, Matt or Mike. What did you think of the Golden Age?
I mean, my honest opinion is it was a filler story that really wasn't needed. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. I mean, to me, it was below mid. Like none of it had any relevance. Like it was some random character that they pulled from nothing and nowhere. I mean, I like Gladiator, so when he's introduced in the story, I do feel it gives it a little something, and that's probably the only reason why I remember this story at all. And I feel like the actor who portrayed him, especially in the Daredevil Netflix series, did a really good job, and a lot of that character was from this run.
Yep.
Not this particular story, but this run itself. I like Pumpkin. So that's about all I got.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about too. Is I thought that the Netflix part of the Daredevil stuff did a really good job with Gladiator, and then how they portrayed him. That's how I read him in the story. Is just he really nice guy, just a little simple, if I could put it that way, and easily manipulable. But yeah, I'm with you. It just it happened. It didn't really derail things for me. Obviously, it just continued on with taunting Matt with his identity and having that drama there. And it just kind of was something that was there to lead us into kind of the next stuff. But again, Bont was okay.
Yeah.
He was there. He was there. Let's see. We're on to Decalogue. Now, this was a really interesting one that I really liked. That kind of fills the gaps a little bit with some stories from folks who were saved or were a part of incidences where Daredevil was there. The stories are loosely structured around the 10 Commandments. So each meeting session features a different resident sharing a personal encounter with Daredevil, ranging from harrowing, life-saving to downright terrifying. And it serves, to fill the gaps, to explore the aftermath of Daredevil's year-long reign as the kingpin of crime in Hell's Kitchen. So I thought this was really cool. I thought it was an interesting, if this took the place of Golden Age and we went right into this instead of Golden Age, I thought maybe it could have just flowed a little bit better. because I just thought this was really, really cool. And I love that Bendis does a lot of like having arcs that Ben Ulrich is the main guy, and having arcs like this where it's people talking about their experience with Daredevil, because then you just get a way more understanding of the world and how they see him and how he where he stands in the world. And I think that's just a really cool thing to that Bendis did. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. I love stories told from the on the ground perspective, whether it's Ben Ulrich, being the eyes and ears as a reporter, or just your everyday person, how he's either a savior or somebody who hinders. Because again, not everybody who's a criminal is doing crime because they're a bad person. I'm not advocating it, but there are some folks out there who are just trying to get by and make ends meet. And during this particular time, while Daredevil's ruling everything with an iron fist, it's difficult for some folks. And this does a great job of juxtaposing different perspectives on how to view the character and understand him, how he fits into the landscape, as well as the Marvel landscape as a whole. Not just here in Hell's Kitchen or there in New York's, but you can again expand upon that and put that almost in any situation with any superhero. I mean, you
Yeah.
could swap him out, with the exception, of course, of Superman, because everybody lives good in Gotham, or excuse me, Metropolis. Wow, I can't believe I
Yes.
just called Metropolis Gotham. But it's like the one city in all of superherodom that is pretty bright and pristine, and for the most part, they got it good. But everybody else, yeah, this is how you live.
No, well said. Really well said. I was there any story that stood out to you the most out of any of the people or any of the people in the group that stood out to you the most?
I mean, to be honest, I feel like this is one of those ones that's better left read by the audience. Let
Yeah,
them
I
enjoy
agree.
it. You know,
Yeah.
I For those of you that are actually going to read it, let this be your enticement. This is a damn good arc. Don't sleep on it.
Yeah, we got some folks in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, but I agree with you, Mike. Let people read that. I mean, this whole run, just enjoy. I thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly recommend this one. This is as good as it's going to get. And so that brings us to the Murdoch Papers, and probably the thing we're going to talk about the most, because a lot goes down in the Murdoch Papers. This is the culmination of everything. I mean, everything has been leading up to this, the entire run. Anyways, from prison, Kingpin orchestrates a scheme to get out of prison by offering a deal to the FBI. He claims to possess the Murdoch Papers, a collection of concrete proofs, secrets, documents, all officially expose Matt Murdock as a superhero Daredevil. So now this giant, massive hunt for the proof of this whole thing is underway, and the walls that Matt's been putting up this entire run have now finally started to really just close in. And you talked about how he's become more secluded, and so the help that could have been there before is no longer there, and his support is no longer there, and it's now gotten to a point where what's going to happen? So my question to you is did you think this is a great ending to this run? And what were your thoughts about how it just seemed like it didn't seem like it happened out of nowhere, I should say, but it just seemed like, okay, once the ball started rolling here in this arc, it just and things were rocking, and it did not stop until the end. What were your thoughts?
I would agree that there was absolutely no lull. I mean, even the menace and stage that is set when Ben Ulrich comes inside the cell, if you can call it that, the borderline
Yeah.
suite in the prison, to meet with Kingpin, and they're having their conversation. And of course, Kingpin knows that, he's wearing a wire, so he asks him to open his shirt and show him where the wire is. And in doing so, he exposes a scar. And he's like, what's the deal with that scar? And he's like, well, one of your assassins actually gave me that. And he's all, Elektra. And it's a nice callback again, all the way back to the original Miller run, where Elektra was originally an assassin hired by Kingpin because she didn't know Matt was Daredevil. So she came in and to learn his identity, she actually put a sigh through Ben Ulrich through in a movie theater, which is something that's referenced again earlier in this run.
Yep.
Um, and gets the information. I mean, who wouldn't talk with a sigh sticking out of your chest? So, uh,
True.
it was a nice little wink and call back, not only to an earlier moment of this run, but way, way back to the Miller days. Him learning more about Ulrich's relationship, clearly understanding what's going on, and at the same time, a series of events unfolds to where Matt gets shot by Paladin, and it essentially culminates to where Ben Ulrich has to reveal Matt's identity. So it's kind of his own friends betraying him as well. That last final, ally is taken off the board by Kingpin in a masterful stroke. And now Matt not only has to deal with the fallout of his identity finally being exposed beyond, dispute, but everything that comes with it. And that leads into Matt Murdock on trial for being Daredevil.
Oh, I love it. And it's so interesting, like the position that Ben Ulrich gets put into, where he's going to go to jail or he's got to give up his friend, and that's such a tough, like a rock and a hard place to be. I mean, would you give up your buddy if he was a superhero and all that if you were put in the same situation?
I mean, realistically, I ain't no snitch, bro.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
mean,
I ain't no snitch either. I
I
wouldn't do it.
mean, if I'm going to prison, I'm going to prison. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
I'm damn sure ain't gonna go there with no fucking jacket ever at any point in my life. So,
No.
I mean, I that's just me. So no, I wouldn't say shit. I mean, I respect law enforcement. I understand we got to have rules, but nah. And I know you would, Callie, you fucker. But I'd never give you up, bro.
Yeah, I'd
I'm
never
a
give
better
you up
man
either,
than you.
Kylie. That's
That's
messed
me,
up, man.
right?
But also, too, though, I think that if Ben Orr goes to jail, he's getting murdered. So, like, it's also you have that as well on top of it. I don't know if he was going to go and get a nice cushy little spot in a max federal prison or something. I think he was going to be in Gen Pop and probably not make it very long. So that makes the decision a little more difficult, especially if Kingpin's calling the shots. You're a dead man as soon as you walk through the door. So, tough spot to be in. Glad I'm not in that spot.
Right?
Hey, what's up, Paul? Good to see you. Welcome. But yeah, so anywho's, so yeah, Matt goes on trial for being Daredevil, and lo and behold, gets found guilty and has to go to prison. Whoa, 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 whoa! Isn't that crazy how that might match up with the TV show? Lo
What
and
was
behold,
really cool though is he had a little fantasy about
yes,
escaping out of the courthouse and escaping the country and
yep,
meeting back up with Mila, and they're living their life together. And then all of a sudden he wakes up and there's Bullseye with one of his cards embedded in her neck. And he's like, I had to you got to give it up. That's one of my best 3 for 3. And I could have ran away, but I just had to stay
just
and see the look on your face. Cause
your
that's one
face.
thing I'll always have on you, Maddie, is I'll be able to see the look on your face when you realize they're dead. And Matt again takes it to Bullseye, snaps his neck, and in the process of that, he snaps out of his little fantasy and he's still in the courtroom. And now he's being
Yeah.
found guilty and he's being led away to Rikers Island. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk is being released and exonerated and walking out into the sunshine. And that's how it wraps.
It's crazy. But what was I gonna say? Oh, when I first read through that, and he has this little dream. I didn't realize that was that little dream, and I'm thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. We saw what happened
Right.
to Hector, brother. Why are we running? Why are we running? Don't run. Don't run. That's like rule number one. Don't run, dude. And then, it keeps building. I went, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And then when he gets caught back and, ends up in jail, and then, Kingpin's let out free. Again, to bring up this season, it's interesting to see where these two end up at the end of season 2 of the show, as compared to this. I mean, context completely different, but still, you got Matt in jail. You have Kingpin in his own form of jail, I guess, per se. But, what's up, Dave? Good to see you. But I thought it was a beautiful way to end the arc, and I thought it was a beautiful way to end the whole thing here, because where was I going to get here? I had this for you. Because something really fun and interesting happens right at the very end here, where with Wilson Fisk thinking he's having the best day of his life, and he's walking around having a good time, and I'm in the what if.
No, you're there. Because right is go for it. I'll shut up.
There. I'm sorry. I thought I had a thing in here. Yeah, Wilson's having a great time, and then he gets pulled. Let's see here. While you're playing games with us, a witness stepped forward with proof, physical evidence you, with your bare hands, murdered a subordinate under your employ. So they don't get him for anything involved with Matt, but they get him for killing somebody that worked for him. So they find a way to. Mike's back. Mike's having a little technical difficulties. There we go.
People call him. I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on. There we go. We're back. We got you back. Anyways, I was just saying, they get Fisk for murdering one of the underling people that worked for him. And he ends up going to jail to set up the Brubaker run with him and Matt in jail. And it's very poetic in a beautiful way to, I think, end the run. Both these guys went up and down, especially Fisk. I mean, at the beginning of this thing, you think Fisk is dead, and then he comes back thinking that I'm back in town. And then Matt kicks the living shit out of him, takes over as Kingpin, and then he thinks, aha, I'm going to get back again because I'm going to give him Matt, and then I'm going to go back to my thing. And he thinks, oh, everything's all hunky-dory, and then, nuh-uh. Don't trust the government, brother. The government's always going to screw you over, you idiot. Like, I would have never done it. Like, I'm not, I don't care what I'm giving them. If I did something bad enough and they want me off the streets bad enough, they're going to find a way to keep me off the streets, dude. And that's what happens. And I think it's a really beautiful way to end the run, but also set up everything that comes in the Brubaker run, because at least the first half of the Brubaker run is absolutely fantastic because it takes place in the prison. And Devil of Cell Block D, I think is what the arc is called, is fantastic. And something, if you're loving where the show is and where it's going, I think they're going to be pulling heavily from that next arc in that run in that next season of the story. So really excited about that. And side note, I don't know if you keep up on kind of TV shows and the internet that way, but some set photos leaked of next season, and they showed Bullseye's costume, and just want to let everybody know it's going to be absolutely flipping awesome. It's like comic accurate, wide eyes, got the bullseye on the forehead. It looks pretty sick. So if you haven't seen it, dude, you should check it out. It looks pretty cool.
I'll have to check it out. Maybe it'll actually make me want to watch this Daredevil. But for me, leading into, because you mentioned Brubaker, there's, again, it's not much of a spoiler, but it's going to be. There's a scene where Matt thinks Foggy's being murdered, and he's listening to Foggy being murdered, and there's nothing he can do about it because he's trapped inside of a cell. So he just goes completely apeshit. Meanwhile, Frank Castle's on the streets. He sees the news report that, Foggy Nelson has been, killed. So he knows what's going to happen. He walks up to a cop, punches him in the face, and turns himself in just so he can get to Matt and be like, look, I know what you're about to do, and you don't want to do that. Because if you do that, you're going to be me. And he turns around and just kills some other prisoner. And he's like, is this what you want? Do you want to be me? And that was just a great, beautiful moment. There's so many great moments between Frank and Matt that really are just so well written. I mean, they're opposite ends of the spectrum as far as like their the way that they resolve a solution, but they actually genuinely care, and there's a lot of common ground between those two. That I just love that.
I know the one that they use in the Netflix show, obviously, of them on the roof, and he's got him in the chain, and talking about that same dynamic that you're talking about, where the opposites, but they one bad day away, right, from being me. And I just always love their conversations because it's always really philosophical when it comes to your morals and it comes to where you stand on how you deal with grief and deal with things, but also how you um, interact with the world and how you go about getting your justice, if you will. Uh, oh, shout outs to our boy Bruce in the chat. But speaking of Bruce, he and I have talked a little bit. There's a conversation that happens in the first season of Daredevil Born Again in Punisher's little hideout, and they're talking about the death of Foggy, and they're talking about how dealing with that justice and that vengeance and trying to get revenge, and Matt's really struggling with if he's going to really like go out and like do some real bad stuff, and the conversation he has with Punisher is such a powerful thing that Charlie Cox even talked about. It got him really emotional on set, even having those conversations, and it's just real easy to be able to do that when the writing is so good, and then what they pull from with those two guys. And I think, those two guys together is always just money. Same with Daredevil and Spider-Man too. I thought their conversations and their scenes, if you will, in this run, the couple times that they have conversations about just what it means to be a hero and what Matt's doing going against that, and how going against who he is as a person, and Peter interjecting his moral beliefs into that conversation, I thought was just as good too. So, what do you think about some of the other heroes and some of the other superhero people that made appearances throughout this run and what their roles were? And I thought they were all used really, really well. I don't think there was anybody, maybe, obviously we talked about Black Widow a little bit, but we talked about great moments with her. But I thought every other hero that was used in this thing was great.
I would agree, especially Luke Cage. I feel like he did a good job of being that moral mirror for Matt. Try saying that 3 times fast. And to be like, dude, like, it's not just the normal, like, good guys and bad guys. You are screwing up so bad that people on the street are starting to suffer because of your bullshit, and you're not even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this run, I can't get enough of it. Just the way that it really encapsulates what it means to be a human, much less what it means to be a hero. And it's a tale of triumph and tragedy. It really is, not to be corny, but it is. And it definitely deserves to be read, especially for the first time. This, for me, will always be the definitive run. Anytime I recommend Daredevil to anybody, it's always volume 2 in its entirety. There's so many great arcs, but for me, it's just one big story, and it was awesome.
One thing that you just touched on, what did you say? The triumph and torment, the identity collapse, and getting caught up in the man versus myth in yourself. I think when the identity thing gets out there, he goes the opposite route of, like, I think what a lot of his contemporaries would do. And I think he gets caught up in he thinks his shit don't stink, to use the lack of a better term. And he bases decisions off of that mindset. And it just goes to get even worse and worse and worse. And, you can sit there and look at it out of context and go, dang, kicking Kingpin's ass and becoming the Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen is so cool. That's so sick. Or what he does to Bullseye, that's so cool. That's so sick. But within the context of it, it's devastating, and it's really sad. And it's like you're watching one of your favorite heroes just go deeper down the dark path, and you're like kind of worried about where things are going to end up. And I think that's such a more interesting read than the normal kind of superhero story that we may be used to that was written before this type of, genre was kind of carved out in comics. And what I think you talked about, like Luke Cage says, there's all those consequences that he gains in this run you wouldn't have had like in the 80s or the 70s, and so it was really cool to finally see a hero go out and do these heroic things, per se, and actually have consequences for them, and to see those consequences continue to build and build and build. And I was talking with some buddies, like Daredevil doesn't have a bad, like, Shadowland is very controversial, but as far as like runs go, like there is not very many bad Daredevil runs, and the story is all.
Wait.
Yeah, the way. See, I personally like the Wade. I like it that it's a little bit different. I can see why people don't like it. It's a lot better once you read the. Oh my gosh, what's the one after it? With Muse, not Zdarsky, but the one before Zdarsky. What am I talking about? The Charles Soule run. The Charles Soule run kind of makes the Wade one a little retroactively better, because it gives a lot more context to some things there, and it kind of makes up for some of the wild things that happen in that run, like maybe people not knowing who Matt Murdock is anymore, or that Daredevil and Matt Murdock are the same anymore for some weird reasons. But overall, like, it's just a really fun run to read from beginning to end, and it's a really satisfying run, I think, to read from beginning to end. The whole gambit of it, especially like the Zdarsky's great, and then you got the Stephanie Phillips run now that's going really well. People are really liking that. It's just selling. Pre-orders are getting bigger and bigger with every issue that's coming out with her. So I'm excited to see where Daredevil goes in the future too.
I'm not a fan of Zdarsky. I will allow that having Elektra take over the mantle of Daredevil for a while, and asking her not to kill and kind of like force her to be better, because of course it would have been easy for her just to run around and stab everybody, but the fact that she essentially filed down her size to make them non-lethal and go about it that way, that was cool and an interesting new element. But beyond that, Zdarsky's run is just Bendis light.
Yeah, I feel that.
There's nothing that he introduced that hadn't been already introduced and done better. I'm just not a huge Zdarsky fan, to be honest, either. There's that.
No, I feel that. I understand that. The first half is definitely better than the second half. I feel you. The second half, when things start going to hell, quite literally, things get a little crazy. Yeah, Daredevil's just a great character, and he's just a consistently good, fun character to read. And I think this run is, if not the best, definitely one of the best. This and the Brubaker run with the Soul run right there behind him, I think, are with Frank Miller, obviously, too. It's kind of in a different tier.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
It's its own thing. But those three, I think, are really, really solid and a really satisfying read front to end, for sure.
And I agree that Daredevil's a very interesting character. I mean, a lot of people enjoy him. He's easy to dismiss. I mean, But once you actually start to get into the character, he's actually layered. There's a lot more to Matt than most people think. I myself used to be one of those that were just like, he's a blind guy and he does flips. Ooh, and he's got a stick. But there's a lot to Matt, and what makes Matt most interesting is the humanness of it, the way that he approaches and deals with everything, which very few other heroes have.
Yeah. Hey, Callie says that Zdarsky doesn't like you either.
That's okay. But he's the one that's scared to meet up by the playground, just saying.
Ooh.
I'm calling you out,
Callie.
By the monkey bars.
Yeah, dude, Callie, Mike's gonna beat you up and become the kingpin of Stockton, dude. You better watch out.
I never said that. I was talking about Chip Zdarsky. I fear the beard that Callie wears. I'm not going there.
That's true. Callie does have a pretty sick beard. Here's my big question for us to end on here. We've got about 6 minutes left. Because I thought this was a really interesting question to ask. At what point do you think Matt stopped being a hero and started being a problem?
I mean, I would have to say when he thought he'd be the fucking kingpin. I mean, that's that. I mean, come on, man. You do not become the thing you fight against and ever think at any moment you're gonna be the good guy. You know,
Mhm.
you just don't do that. You don't, the whole fight fire with fire. It doesn't work. It just creates a bigger fire. Stupid. Try
Yep.
water. Water's good for fighting fire. Why doesn't
It
that ever
is.
get mentioned? You know.
Yeah.
So that's when I think it got really bad when
Really
he's like,
bad. Yeah.
screw it, I'll take over the crime myself, and that's when it isolated him completely from his
Yeah.
peers and made it just bad for everybody.
Yeah. That's a good point. I like that. See, I thought it was when he decided he was going to actually go on a date with Mila. And I thought that was kind of the first decision where he, like, Foggy's trying to talk him out of it. And I thought that was kind of a turning point where I could see him starting to really think his shit didn't stink. And I could see him starting just to make decisions that he knew were bad, and it just kind of unraveled from there. I agree with what you said. I mean, that's the big boom catalyst for everything. And so,
Like your answer better though. Your answer's better. I mean, it's definitely a lot more introspective. It's definitely, of course, him being selfish would be the real catalyst. He's not thinking about him being good with somebody else. Clearly, again, for me, it all goes back to the death of Karen Page, because the way that it was done, it was so shocking, and she is such a critical character to Matt, and the fact that
yeah,
she was just completely removed, and again, hasn't come back, still dead. Karen's still
yep,
dead. It left him reeling, and he never really got a chance to process that, and this whole run
yep.
is just one big emotional reaction, and as we all know, reacting emotionally is the worst thing you can
Oh,
do.
the worst thing to do.
You're never going to make any good decisions when you're reacting and doing everything purely on an emotional level. Case in point, instead of
Yep.
taking time to heal, and if he would have healed him, and like if he would have been friends with Mila until he was strong and then got together, it would have been a totally different scenario. But of
Yeah.
course, he never did that. So of course, they imploded.
Yep. Okay. Well, we got 3 minutes left. I want to thank you for coming these 2 times here, buddy. I had a blast talking with you about this and going deep down. I think this one went better than last time too, for sure. I think this one was really awesome. So I appreciate you coming out. And before we leave, 2 things. Number one, gets a big thumbs up. Judgment Pass on the Bendis and Maleev Daredevil run from me. Mike, you got a thumbs up? Heck yeah. Now, due to me getting, thankfully here, this is not a humble brag or anything, just a fact, had multiple acting auditions this week. So the lovely video to go along with our next month's book club is delayed until tomorrow or Tuesday. So today, those of you 6 that are sitting in here right now, you get a little preview of next month's book club. I'll get into the details here Monday or Tuesday, but next month's book club, boys, is Something's Killing the Children. Okay, this is a lot smaller of a commitment than this one was. And I know all of you guys sitting in that chat right now all have a bunch of these books, and you're all big fans because I see all of your really nice covers of these. So we're going to do some Something's Killing the Children, and I'll get into all the deets of how many issues and all that Monday or Tuesday. So really excited. Hope you guys are excited. Hope it gets you guys to want to come be on here. Mike showed you how fun it can be. Yeah, hope to see you guys next month. And once again, judgment passed on Bendis Daredevil. Thank you guys all for coming in the chat. Remember, go check out blackordercomicclub.com. Go check out us on Instagram. Mike O Guy there, Tales of a True Believer, Black Order Comic Club, the Black Order Network on YouTube, all that lovely stuff. So thank you guys again. Shout outs to the chat. And we'll see you next month. Thanks again, Mikey.